Relax, get into a nice seated posture. If you can, either cross-legged or with your feet flat on the floor. And just go ahead and close your eyes. Just land here in this space. Start to take in some deep breaths. Starting to turn inward now. Taking a moment to bring gratitude to yourself for being here, for taking this time for yourself, for showing up. Holding gratitude for the other folks that are here in this moment now, or folks that might listen to this meditation in the future. Just opening up to the expansiveness of all that is, all that surrounds us, all the many unique formations and mirrors of all of our natural humanness, the things that we see in other people, or the things that we see in relation to animals or plants. Spring is a time for renewal. It's a time for growth. In the astrological year, we are completing the cycle of Pisces and entering into Aries. Very fiery energy. Go ahead and allow yourself to return back to the breath. Know that when you come here for this practice, you can always return back to your breath. If you ever feel distracted, you can always return to your breath. Allowing yourself to become more and more relaxed as you sit or lay here. Feeling relaxed. Might start to bring up other feelings or emotions, and that's okay. Start to lean into the sensations that your body has to offer you. Lean into them with openness and compassion. Lean into that tight pain in your back or that ache in your knee. While it may not be enjoyable to experience any type of pain or discomfort, particularly chronic pains. However, I'm a firm believer that your body has a wisdom that speaks to you and through you in a way that you can hear it. Our bodies do so much for us that we forget about. allows us to make our way through this life, to bring forward all of the many unique things that we have to offer and show this world, all of our wisdom and joy and compassion. Bring that all here in this moment. Bring it to yourself. Offer it to your body the way that it offers this life to you. And as you do that, allow your breath to continue to relax you, to open your heart, to breathe into this space that you're in right now at this very moment. So intentional, so careful, so kind. Know that you can give this space to yourself any time you need. My goal here is to be a guide and to show you how to get here. Meditation is a practice. One cannot expect to lean into this practice newly and be a savant. It is meant to invite you to lean in and face yourself, to be a student of life, to allow space for all thoughts and feelings in your body and mind to come forward and be present with you. You do not have to push yourself away. In fact, your body would greatly appreciate it. It speaks to you, it tries to tell you what you need to hear. And as you do this, you find yourself imagining or envisioning, if you can, just creating in your mind either a sense of knowing or feeling. Start to imagine yourself on a pathway, walking down this pathway, whatever this pathway looks like for you. Any scenery you want to add around your pathway, just start walking. One step at a time, foot after foot in front of you. To the best of your abilities. Feel into this unknown territory where you just allow yourself to wander for a minute. You don't know where you're going or what you'll find. All you have is what you see, what you imagine or feel, sense, any kind of sense that speaks to you. Everyone is so different. Some people may have a combination of senses. If your senses feel dull, that's okay. You can sharpen them by simply practicing them. As you continue walking down this pathway, you see a small structure. As you approach it, you notice how welcoming it feels. You're not sure where you're going, but you know that you must enter this room. You allow yourself to face your fears and walk forward. Allow yourself to see the door. Imagine the door. Create this door in your mind's eye. As you stand on the other side of this door, allow yourself to just ground here for 1 second. Just know that you are safe, that you are following your intuition to be at this door, just like you are here in this moment today. Ground into the safety of your intuitive knowing to be at this door, and then gently reach for the doorknob and turn the door. Turn the knob and open the door. You walk inside the room. In the room, you see a round circle of pillows. Instinctively, you know to go sit on one of the pillows. Take your time. Feel free to suss out the room, feel into the safety of this room, feel into the warmth and welcomeness of this room. Welcomeness, is that a word? I don't know. The welcomingness of this room. Just have a seat. In this room, you find that others begin to join you. You may recognize them as faces here today or strangers, but somehow you have all been divinely guided to this very special room. In this very special room, I will join you, and as I come through the door into the room and join you in the circle of pillows, please allow me to read to you some chapters, a few pages out of this book. Smile at Fear, Awakening the True Heart of Bravery by Chögyam Trungpa. The path of fearlessness begins with the discovery of fear. We find ourselves fearful, frightened, even petrified by circumstances. This ubiquitous nervousness provides us with a stepping stone so that we can step over our fear. We have to make a definite move to cross over the boundary from cowardice to bravery. If we do so properly, the other side of our cowardice contains bravery. We may not discover bravery right away. Instead, beyond our nervousness, we find a shaky tenderness. We are still quivering, but we are shaking with tenderness rather than with bewilderment. That shaky vulnerability contains an element of sadness, but not in the sense of feeling bad about oneself or feeling deprived. Rather, we feel a natural sense of fullness that is tender and sad. It's like the feeling you have when you're about to shed a tear. You feel somewhat wealthy because your eyes are full of tears. When you blink, tears begin to roll down your cheeks. There is also an element of loneliness, but again is not based on deprivation, inadequacy, or rejection. Instead, you feel that you alone can understand the truth of your own loneliness, which is quite dignified and self-contained. You have a full heart. You feel lonely, but you don't feel particularly bad about it. It is like an island in the middle of a lake. The island is self-contained, therefore it looks lonely in the middle of the water. Ferry boats occasionally carry commuters back and forth from the shore to the island, but that doesn't particularly help. In fact, it expresses the loneliness or the aloneness of the island even more. Discovering these facets of fearlessness is preparation for the further journey on the warrior's path. If the warrior does not feel alone and sad, then he or she can be corrupted very easily. In fact, such a person may not be a warrior at all. To be a good warrior, one has to feel sad and lonely, but rich and resourceful at the same time. This makes the warrior sensitive to every aspect of phenomena, to sights, smells, sounds, and feelings. In that sense, the warrior is also an artist, appreciating whatever goes on in the world. Everything is extremely vivid. The rustling of your armor or the sound of raindrops falling on your coat is very loud. The fluttering of occasional butterflies around you is almost an insult because you're so sensitive. Such a sensitive warrior can then go further on the path of fearlessness. There are 3 tools or practical guides that the warrior uses on this journey. The first is the development of discipline, or shila in Sanskrit, which is represented by the analogy of the sun. Sunshine is all pervasive. When the sun shines on the land, it doesn't neglect any area. It does a thorough job. Similarly, as a warrior, you never neglect your discipline. We're not talking about military rigidity here. Rather, in all your mannerisms, every aspect of your behavior, you maintain your openness to the environment. You constantly extend yourself to things around you. There is a complete absence of laziness. Even if what you are seeing, hearing, or perceiving becomes very difficult and demanding, the warrior never gives up. You go along with the situation. You don't withdraw. This allows you to develop your loyalty and connection to others free from fear. You can relate with other sentient beings who are trapped in a confused world, perpetuating their pain. In fact, you realize that it is your duty. You feel warmth, compassion, and even compassion towards others. First, you develop your own good conduct, and then you can extend yourself fearlessly to others. That is the concept of the sun. The second guide on the warrior's path is represented by the analogy of an echo, which is connected with the meditative awareness, or samadhi. When you try to take time off from being a warrior, when you want to let go of your discipline or indulge mindlessly in some activity, your action produces an echo. It's like a sound echoing in a canyon, bouncing back on itself, producing more echoes that bounce off one another. Those echoes or reflections happen all the time, and if we pay attention to them, they provide constant reminders to be awake. At first, the reminder might be fairly timid, but then the second, third, and fourth time you hear it, it's a much louder echo. These echoes are reminding you to be on the spot, on the dot. However, you can't just wait for an echo to wake you up. You have to put your awareness out into the situation. You have to put effort into being aware. Becoming a warrior means that you are building a world that does not give you the degraded setting sun concept of rest, which is purely indulging in your confusion. Sometimes you are tempted to return to that cowardly world. You just want to flop and forget the echo of your awareness, It seems like a tremendous relief not to have to work so hard. But then you discover that this world without even an echo is too deadly. You find it refreshing to get back to the warrior's world because it is so much more alive. The warrior's third tool is actually a weapon. It is represented by the analogy of a bow and arrow, which is connected with developing wisdom, or prajna, and skillful means, or apaya. Prajna is the wisdom of discriminating awareness, which is experiencing the sharpness of sense perceptions and developing psychological accuracy. This is the same quality of natural intelligence we discussed earlier as the sun in your head. How you are wielding that intelligence as a weapon of awareness. You can't develop this kind of sharpness unless some experience of egolessness has manifested in your mind. Otherwise, your mind will be preoccupied, full of its own ego. But when you have made a connection with basic goodness, you can relate with both the actual sharpness of the arrow and with the skillfulness means provided by the bow. The bow allows you to harness or execute the sharpness of your perceptions. The development of this discriminating awareness, wisdom, allows you to accurately detect the enemy. A real enemy is someone who propagates and promotes ultimate selfishness or ego. Such enemies promote basic badness rather than basic goodness. They try to bring others into their realm, tempting them with anything from a cookie up to $1 million. In the Shambhala warrior tradition, we say that you should only have to kill an enemy once every 1,000 years. We mean here the real enemy, the basic Ruda principle, which is personification of egohood or ego run wild. You can work with other enemies by subjugating or pacifying them, talking to them, buying them out, or seducing them. However, according to this tradition, once in 1,000 years, a real assassination of the ultimate enemy may be necessary. We're talking about an extremely rare situation in which someone can't be reached by any other means. Your action has to be completely free from aggression, and it cannot be motivated by anger, greed, or a desire for retribution or vengeance. The motivation has to be pure compassion. You might use a sword or an arrow, whatever means you need to overpower them so that their ego is completely popped. Such an assassination has to be very direct and personal. It is not like dropping bombs on people. If we pop the enemy and only then, they might be able to connect with some basic goodness within themselves and realize that they made a gigantic mistake. You always look for other alternatives to cure the situation, but sometimes there are none. It's like having rotten teeth in your mouth. Eventually, you have to have all of your teeth removed, replacing them with false teeth. After that, you might be able to appreciate the teeth that you lost. Overall, these three principles, the sun, the echo, and the bow and arrow, are all connected with the natural process or path of working with our basic intelligence. Beyond that, they describe the fundamental decorum and decency of the warrior's existence. A warrior should be capable of artfully conducting his or her life in every action, from drinking tea to running a country. Learning how to handle fear and how to utilize both our own and other people's fear is what allows us to brew the beer of fearlessness. You can put all those situations of fear and doubt into a gigantic vat and ferment them. The path of fearlessness is connected with what we do right now, today, rather than with anything theoretical or waiting for a cue from someone else. The basic vision of warriorship is that there is goodness in everyone. We are all good in ourselves. So we have our own warrior society within our own body. We have everything we need to make the journey already. And as I complete this chapter, allow yourself to just soak that energy in, taking a breath and bringing yourself back into the special room, sitting on your pillow in the circle, keeping your eyes closed and maybe imagining opening your eyes in this special room to look around you. Just get grounded again. Allow yourself to feel into that for just a moment. I have one more section I'd like to read that is a couple pages still. So if you will join me again in closing your eyes in real life or closing them again in the special room, allowing yourself to reposition if you need to get relaxed, to get back to your breath. Again, feeling into the openness, the unknown, just welcoming it, welcoming this very unique, complex and layered sensation that you may be experiencing. You might be very relaxed still. Be very curious. You might be thinking of ways to create this warrior mentality within yourself. Ways that you can channel this fiery Aries energy that is so beautifully present with us at this time. Just allow it. Again, I welcome you to listen in while I read these last few pages. Fearlessness has a starting point. It includes discipline, it makes a journey, and it reaches a conclusion. It is like the great eastern sun. The sun rises, it radiates light, and this benefits people by dispelling the darkness and allowing the fruit to ripen and the flowers to blossom. The fruition of fearlessness is connected with three analogies. The first is that fearlessness is like a reservoir of trust. This trust arises from the experience of basic goodness, which we have already discussed. When we feel basically good rather than degraded or condemned, then we become very inquisitive, looking into every situation and examining it. We don't want to fool ourselves by relying on belief alone. Rather, we want to make a personal connection with reality. The reservoir of trust is a very simple, straightforward idea. If we accept a challenge and take certain steps to accomplish something, the process will yield results, either success or failure. When you sow a seed or plant a tree, either the seed will germinate, the tree will grow, or it will die. Similarly, for the inquisitive warrior, trust means that we know that our actions will bring a definite response from reality. We know that we will get a message. Failure generally is telling us that our action has been undisciplined and inaccurate in some way. Therefore, it fails. When our action is fully disciplined, it usually is fulfilled. We have success. but those responses are not regarded as either punishment or congratulations. Trust, then, is being willing to take a chance, knowing that what goes up must come down, as they say. When a warrior has that kind of trust in the reflections of the phenomenal world, then she can trust her individual discovery of goodness. Communication produces results, either success or failure. That is how the fearless warrior relates with the universe, not by remaining alone and insecure, hiding away, but by constantly being exposed to the phenomenal world and constantly being willing to take that chance. The reservoir of trust is a bank of richness from which the warrior can always draw conclusions. We begin to feel that we are dealing with a rich world, one that never runs out of messages. The only problem arises if we try to manipulate the situation in our favor. You are not supposed to fish in the reservoir or swim in it. The reservoir has to remain unconditional, unpolluted, so you don't put your one-sided bias or conditionality into it. Then the reservoir might dry up. Normally, trust means that we think that our world is trustworthy. We think it's going to produce a good result, success. But in this case, we're talking about having a continual relationship with a phenomenal world that is not based on either a good or a bad result. We unconditionally trust the phenomenal world to always give us a message, either success or failure. The fruition of our action will always provide us with information. Such trust in the reservoir keeps us from being too arrogant or too timid. If you're too arrogant, you'll find yourself bumping into the ceiling. If you're too timid, you'll be pushed up by the floor. Roughly speaking, that is the concept of the reservoir. The ancient Chinese Book of Changes, or I Ching, often talks about success being failure and failure being success. Success sows the seeds of future failure, and failure may bring a later success. So it's always a dynamic process. For warriors, fearlessness doesn't mean that we cheer up by saying, "Look, I'm on the side of the right, I'm a success." Nor do we feel that we're being punished when we fail. In any case, success and failure are saying the same thing. That brings us to the next analogy, which is music. Music is connected with the idea of continuously being joyful. The feedback or the result that comes from the warrior's practice is never a dead end. It presents another path. We always can go on, go beyond. So while the result of action is fruition, beyond that, the result is the seed for the next journey. Our journey continues cycling between success and failure, path and fruition. Just as the 4 seasons alternate, there is always further creativity, so there is always joy on the journey, joy in the result. Why are you so joyful? You are guided on the path by the disciplines of the sun, the echo, and the bow and arrow. You have witnessed your basic goodness, taking joy in having nothing to hang on to. You have realized the fundamental no. You are free from doubt, and you have experienced a sense of renunciation. So whether the situation brings success or failure, it brings an unconditional good understanding. Therefore, your mind and body are constantly synchronized. There is no deficit of any kind in the body or the mind. Your experience becomes like music, which has rhythm and a melody that is constantly expanding and being recreated. So the sense of celebration is constant, built in spite of the ups and downs of one's personal life. That is continuously being joyful. Having developed trust and appreciation, you can finally conquer fear, which is connected with the analogy of a saddle. In the Buddhist teachings, we talk about developing such a goodness of mental balance that if you become mindless, your awareness automatically brings you back, just as in the process of skidding on the ice and losing your balance. Your body automatically rebalances itself to keep from falling. In the saddle, as long as you have good posture and a good seat, you can overcome any startling or unexpected moves your horse makes. So the idea of the saddle is taking a good seat in your life. An overreacting or an exaggerated reaction to situations shouldn't happen at this level. You have trust, you are constantly being joyful, and therefore you can't be startled either. This doesn't mean that your life is monotone, but rather you feel established in this world. You belong here. You are one of the warriors in this world. So even if little unexpected things happen, good or bad, right or wrong, you don't exaggerate them. You come back to your seat in the saddle and maintain your posture in the situation. The warrior is never amazed by anything. If someone comes up to you and says, "I'm going to kill you right now," you are not amazed. If someone says that they are going to give you $1 million, you think, so what? Assuming your seat in the saddle at this level is achieving inscrutability in a positive sense. It is also taking your seat on the earth. Once you have a good seat on the earth, you don't need witnesses to validate you. Someone once asked the Buddha, "How do we know that you are enlightened?" He touched the earth in the gesture known as earth-touching mudra and said, "Earth is my witness." That is the same concept as holding your seat in the saddle. Someone might ask, "How do we know you won't overreact in this situation?" You can say, "Just watch my posture in the saddle." Fearlessness in the warrior tradition is not training yourself in ultimate paranoia. It is based on training in ultimate solidity, which is basic goodness. You have to learn how to be regal. Trust is like becoming a good citizen. Celebrating the journey is like becoming a good minister in the government. But holding your seat in the saddle is finally assuming command. It is how to be a king or a queen. At the same time, conquering fear is not based on blocking your sensitivity. Otherwise, you become a deaf and dumb monarch, a jellyfish king. Sitting on the horse requires balance, and as you acquire that balance in the saddle, you have more awareness of the horse. So when you sit in the saddle on your fickle horse, you feel completely exposed and gentle. If you feel aggressive, you don't have a good seat. In fact, you are probably not even riding the horse. You don't put your saddle on a fence railing. You have to saddle a real horse. In this case, riding the horse is riding somebody else's mind. It requires complete connection or working with the other person. In the Buddhist tradition, this is called compassion. You are completely exposed in this situation. Otherwise, it's like a medieval knight encased in this armor. It is so heavy that he has to be cranked up onto the horse. Then he rides off to battle and usually falls off. There's something wrong with that technology. Often when someone tells us not to be afraid, we think they're saying not to worry, that everything is going to be all right. Unconditional fearlessness, however, is simply based on being awake. Once you have command of the situation, fearlessness is unconditional because you are neither on the side of success nor on the side of failure. Success and failure are your journey. Nevertheless, sometimes you become so petrified on your journey that your teeth, your eyes, your hands, and your legs are all vibrating. You are hardly sitting in your seat. You are practically levitating with fear. But even that is regarded as an expression of fearlessness if you have a fundamental connection with the earth of basic goodness, which is unconditional goodness at this point. Allow yourself to feel into that reading, feel into that beautiful wisdom, to feel into the story of the warrior. I want to tell you all, each and every one of you here present, listening to this moment, is a warrior of goodness. We all have a dark shadow. We all have a side we don't think we can show the world. We all have a side that does not feel safe to be with. And I would like us all to welcome in this amazing energy of springtime by doing a sweet internal cleansing, taking this knowledge with us, this wisdom, this invitation. Allow yourself to be in this special room again with everyone present. Imagine, if you will, yourself being here, being in this unique and special space, feeling into this community and this group, all the energy of all of these loving and wonderful, unique individuals here with us today. Allow us to remain relaxed and imagine with me, if you will, as if I were bringing a soft and warm blanket to cover you, pulling up over your toes and your knees. Imagine this blanket coming up to your shoulders, up and over your face, and allow yourself to become engulfed into a warm cocoon. Imagine yourself as a caterpillar of sorts. Perhaps you're still a human form in this caterpillar. Just allow yourself to be engulfed in whatever your imagination wants to bring to the table. Allow the child in you to be creative. Allow yourself to go into this darkness with fearlessness. Allow yourself to be present with this unknown sensation, going into your cocoon, bringing with you all of the parts of you, welcoming every drop of your essence, every fractal of your being, calling it back to you now. Call your essence to you. Allow yourself to imagine any moments or times in your recent life that have kept you from feeling like yourself. Call your power back to you now. Imagine yourself, each piece of you returning yourself. See if you can lean into gentle understanding of the parts of you that were afraid, parts of you that shoulda, coulda, woulda. Just allow them. Bring them forward, and you do not need to shame them or condemn them. You will welcome them like a true warrior with an open heart and open arms and an open mind. Allow yourself to become so connected to all of who you are. Welcome and invite all of your expansive energy, the parts that go up and the parts that come down, and know that it is all valuable and is all welcome here. Pretty soon I'm going to count up to 3. You will be able to emerge from this cocoon as a beautiful butterfly. Imagine yourself in any way that feels good to you. Being able to break out of this cocoon and bring with you all of who you are, and all of your expansiveness and all of your creativity, all the uniqueness you have to offer. Allow yourself to bring with you the wisdom of these pages of this spiritual friend. And as you come out of your cocoon in 3, 2, 1, bursting out of this cocoon, being the powerful being that you are, the being of transformation, being of this world that runs with the cycles of the sun and the moon, bringing the seasons in and out, welcoming this allow yourself to imagine you're a butterfly. Come back to it and float on in to your humble abode, your home, or any space that feels comfortable to you, wherever you are, maybe. Allow that beautiful butterfly to float right on in to your heart as you accept this knowledge and wisdom, as you accept this vulnerable time you have spent with yourself and with me and others here. Allow it to come into your heart. Allow your body to integrate this goodness. Up to 3, and when I get to 3, you'll be able to emerge gently and softly. 1, you're beginning to return back into your body, back into the space where you are. 2, reflecting on spring and what it means for you. What can you clean out? What things can you let go of that are no longer serving you? And 3, allowing yourself to wiggle your hands and toes and opening your eyes.